What have we seen unravel at the Holkar Stadium? India batting first, many people presuming batting big, but they capitulated. 109 all out, and the Australians, well, they'll be cock a hoop after day one, as they, of course, have pocketed a 47-run lead already as things stand. As far as India are concerned, nothing to really talk about, but plenty to, of course, pick the bones out of, as always, in this cricket.com review. And we're going to, of course, be talking about what's unraveled, like I said, from the third test on day one. Joining us right now in this particular live are the fine minds of Somesh Agarwal, Crick Crazy Nicks, and Gurkirat or Gail. We'll get them on the screen in a bit, but before I do that, it is, of course, an encouragement for all you viewers right now joining us to have your say on this space. Get involved with your comments and, of course, questions, and we'll take them at the end of the show. I can already see Bharat Kotwani raising some questions, which is always good to see. But enough of me. Let's, of course, tell you exactly what's going on at the Holkar, because, look, at the end of the day, lots has been made of this test in the prelude to that WTC final. And let's see how it all goes, of course, in the next month or two. But there's still so much to talk about in the series, which is currently going on. Now, enough of my fluff. Let's get the boys on board one by one. And we've got the back of the Holkar Stadium as well, but that doesn't matter because the men who matter on the screen right now. Where do I start? Because what did we just see? So, talk to me.
A bad day for India in all four departments.
How bad? How bad? And four departments?
Reviews.
Umpiring?
Yeah, I mean, see, I don't know. I mean, one can only assume that the break has not done India any good. It sort of overestimated the demons in the pitch. A few of the wickets could have been avoided, and then we can cut some slack to the three spinners. It's the worst that they have bowled in a while, and all of them doing it together just made things tougher for India. But I mean, there was some. I know we'll dive into this in due course. I mean, there is exactly four things that happened that made me, tear whatever hair I have apart. I mean, Ashwin bowling without a leg slip to a right-hander while bowling round the wicket, and then in and out field giving easy. I mean, there were overs where they were scoring 4 singles in an over. Then bowlers bowling too short, and of course the reviews. And of course, and Aksar being underbowled. So yeah, a forgetful day for India.
Forgetful day. Let's start with Nicks and Gurkirat then in chronological order, guys, because it's not very often that you try to reach office on time, and before you reach, India is already bundled up. That's exactly what happened with me. I know Som decided to watch the first session from office like a good boy. But talk to me about the pitch, Nicks, because we were having some banter on WhatsApp as well. Have you seen a worse pitch than this in recent times?
I think sometimes this is exactly like the mirror in the car. Things seem far closer than what they are. So I think that's what happened with India in the very first session. You always know the moisture will have some effect. The ball will do a bit more in the first half. And then it settles down, which we saw during the day. It was much better to bat. But the thing is, India lost. Maybe today is the day India missed KL Rahul's first 30 balls. Who knows? Who knows? Just putting it out there. Okay. Had those 30 balls been taken out, even for 4-5 runs, maybe the moisture would have still just dried out. You would have entered into a phase where you could have done something about it. But I think it's what India did to Australia. The same thing happened to India. Everything was just happening so quickly for them to decipher. First bad shot that you play, you get out, and then the ball keeps slow. The one to Pujara turned so much. I mean, I don't know if there is any other way to take that out of the game. Rohit, you can say, was stumped, tied down by the bowling. He was out twice in the very first over, which I think entire day, everybody had a complete day off in terms of reviews. Stark had him caught behind, then LBW, but nobody reviewed. Maybe someday we'll talk about the umpiring too. But again, maybe there's an army already waiting. Okay, it's a tough day for the players. The umpires will also have it tough. But again, that's what it is.
That's what it is. And one man who was making his voices heard, especially on Twitter, was a man in white right now who's chuckling away, who also promised me, by the way, that he's got something in terms of good news for me. So I'm just intrigued by that. But Gurkirat, you've been lambasting this Indore pitch, and rightly so. Talk to me about what unraveled in that morning session as well. The spinners won India like a rash. Everything was going against us. Anything else that you found to talk about rather than India shambles?
So, my first impression of the pitch was that this is a bit like Chennai 2021, the pitch that was there in the second test, because obviously there was turn on offer and there was some bounce and it wasn't slow. But then it started keeping up and down. You look at Pujara's dismissal. You look where the ball land and how much it turned. And it's not that Pujara was playing a cut. When he realized that the ball is staying low, he actually tried to get his bat down straight, but the ball just didn't bounce enough. So Pujara's dismissal is something which could be completely put down to the pitch. I think Rohit played a bad shot. He realized that this pitch is difficult. Maybe he needs to ensure that the left arm spinner doesn't settle in, given how many right-handers India have. Uh, getting out like the way he did doesn't surprise me, because he got out to Leach in similar manner when England were here. He was LBW a couple of times, if I'm not wrong, and edged it to slip. So not surprised at all with his dismissal. Uh, a little disappointed with how Jadeja and Shreyas were dismissed, because by that time you knew that the ball is going to stay low. You can't trust the bounce. And Jadeja got out to a ball which he shouldn't really have. Then Iyer went back to a sort of delivery again which he shouldn't really have, and look to play straighter, because when the bounce is this inconsistent, you really can't be relying so much on your cross batted shots. Either you bring out the sweep and try to smother the spin, but going back is not something which is easy. Uh, and even though Kohli did that on a few occasions, I really thought that he was the best Indian batter out there today. Might have not scored that many runs, only 22, but he was really India's best batter today without any doubt. Because at that point of time, given what everything was happening and how he had managed to play out those 50 odd plus balls, it looked like that we he might play a special innings. And when I say special, I really don't mean that he would have scored 100, but even a 50 plus hair would have been a really really good innings. So he did look the part. And I mean, if not for Umesh's big hits, we could have had India getting all out for under 100, and that would have been really something. But it just brings back to you know uh, the discussion that happens when people want India to play rank turners. This is what happens when you play on rank turners. Spin bowling essentially becomes a kind of a lottery. There is literally no gulf remaining between quality spinners and between spinners who are inexperienced or not as good. And you look back at the pitches in the last 2 decades, whenever India have been ran close, or in India, it's happened only when they have played on pitches where a Dean Elgar is coming in and taking a four wicket haul. Michael Clark is taking a 6 wicket haul. Joe Root is taking a fifer. When that happens, you need a lot of prayers to survive the bowling and to score runs. And maybe Indian batters fell short of prayers, because also it would be fair to say that given how they've been batting in recent times, they needed a lot more prayers than their usual ones, because it's not that they've been batting too well. So it's just an amalgamation of their errors getting caught up. We all knew that at some stage India 7-8-9 will not be able to bail them through, and that's what happened today. Bharat did apply himself, but again couldn't really score that many runs. Ashwin couldn't apply himself, and Akshar was left-handed. So this was bound to happen. I just hope that it's a wake-up call for the future, and it doesn't really result in a bad result for the Indian team in this test match.
Now, remember, Virat Kohli top scorer. I just wanted to say that out there because it's not been a while since I said that as a Kohli fan. But look, jokes apart and stats apart, as you guys can see, you can check out all the fantastic analysis and stats and numbers from day one. And not just that, across the cricketing world. We'll also, of course, feature some of the comments right now before I, of course, ask more questions to Nick, Soam, and Gurkirat. Bharat Kopani saying, not spinner, not once has he beaten the batsman the entire ball today. Bharat Kotwani going on to say again, does Gill have a technique to succeed in tests? Ashwin's bowling from around the wicket. What is that all about? Greg going on to say our best batsmen Akshar, Jadeja, Ashwin, who failed so far. India couldn't cross 120. Guys, I just want to show you this one image. And I'll ask Soam about it because he was, like he said, pulling whatever hair he has left on his head. And one particular thing that struck me, especially when we were bowling to Khwaja, and even Nick's mentioned it in the groups, that we've not looked really good with the ball, I don't know since how long. Is this a telling piece of information? I'll show you the extra one that I want to show you and the viewers. Now, this is India's left-arm spinners versus Usman Khwaja, in particular Jadeja and Akshar. So talk me through this and what frustrated you the most.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. So 25% of balls, which is every one in every four balls, was down the leg. And you're not dismissing a test opener that way. So India definitely earned in line. I mean, both left off spinners wanted to try and bowl wicket to wicket, but they were unsure of the turn. Maybe that's the thing, or they just had an off day. In the end, Khwaja just gifted his wicket to India. Otherwise, they would have been in deeper trouble.
Yeah, I think it's erratic lines and lengths, maybe. I mean, what do you have to make of this, Nick? And Gurkita, join in. I mean, I know there's lots to dissect in this particular stat. On the left, as you can see, it's pretty much Jadeja and Akshar and how they went about their business, which is, some would say, erratic. And then you have Kuhnemann, who's the only left-arm spinner that Australia possessed in this. And it's almost like an artist on a blank canvas. Nick, Gurkita, jump in here.
Yeah, I think India were just too desperate to strike, I felt, once the low score was done. And because the pitch was doing a bit, you can see the grouping that Kuhnemann has. It's probably the ideal grouping that you want to have on the right.
Yeah.
But on the left, when you see, and it was also evident when you saw them bowl, right? Whenever Jadeja pulled the length back, he was getting the ball to turn. For some reason, they had this obsession that let's go very full, which I don't know if it was the plan that they felt that they'll sweep again. Let's try and catch them LBW on the very full ball, but it did not work for you anytime. Why are you continuing to back that plan? So that, I think, is something which we will probably hear maybe later today or tomorrow morning. But India were too full for your liking. That how are you not able to see that it's not working? And Smith to Manas, Jadeja bowled 2 balls. He beat the bat. Manas was front. He tried to play from the crease. The third ball is very full. He rotates and gets off strike. Now, it is not something that you associate with Jadeja. And then Ashwin comes. He bowls 2 balls to Khwaja outside off stump. He beats him. Then the third ball is outside leg. He sweeps and gets away. So, again, if I am, who's not even played the game, if I could feel this difference that, okay, this is not working, but this is, it felt very, very surprising that India did not change their lengths or plans enough through the day. Even the last wicket, the 4 wickets that Jadeja got, you see, even when he got Smith out, previously he was bowling 2 full, he got hit for 4. Akshar Patel came in, he's also trying to bowl 2 full. So maybe it was a plan that did not come off, but it did not make much sense as well, because even when you're bowling to Khwaja and you're bowling 2 full on middle and leg, what are you trying? You are only probably going to get an LBW if the batter misses. But even if that happens, it's more likely to go down leg. So you have effectively nullified most form of dismissals, which was, and again, the moment he came back to around the wicket, he bowled outside his off stump. You saw Khwaja was now starting to think that, okay, what do I do? There are 2 fielders stopping my single, and which is why the error came into the picture. So it felt very unlike India that they took so long to get to the plans right.
Just to add on to that, when Jadeja was actually bowling from around the wicket and not over the wicket, his line also was very leg stumpish. He wasn't really attacking the outside edge of Usman Khwaja. So I felt maybe these plans were also brought about by the field placing, because naturally when you just put on 109 runs on the board, you can't have as many attacking fielders around the bat. And I thought maybe that played a part somewhere. But you'd have to say in a nutshell that India were too stubborn with their plans. They just were too stubborn. You see the bowling changes as well. I felt that this was the kind of pitch where Akshar Patel had to get the new ball, because the ball was not a slow pitch to begin with. It was actually a fast turner of sorts, if you want to put it that way. So I was very surprised that because Ashwin off late has also started to take his time a little bit to get the right length and get the right line. And when you have just 109 runs on the board, I don't think it's a luxury that you can afford. And that sort of happened with Ashwin in the first 3-4 overs. And everything that you saw, the bowling plans and the reviews, all were just down to desperation, because of the low score on the board. And
Hmm.
the the keeping this match aside, another factor or another thing that that these pitches do, or these pitches which are consistently difficult for batting do, is that they also start to take out confidence of your batters when they encounter a flattish pitch, because
Yeah.
you've been struggling for so long to score runs that when you actually encounter a flattish pitch, I think it becomes a part of your muscle memory that you need to protect your wicket first and then score runs. So not happy at all with the pitch that was on offer today. Maybe we can allow some leeway to the curator, because the test match was given to the venue only 10 days ago. But then, if I'm not wrong, the Irani Trophy final was supposed to happen here. So either way, uh, there should have been a better pitch. You really can't serve up this kind of a pitch where uh, just on the first half, for just in the first half an hour, the ball's keeping up and down, it's turning 5 degrees. And and along with it, it has space. It could turn for, like, it was turning definitely a lot more in Delhi than in Nagpur, but because the pitch was getting slower, batting was becoming easier. India would hope that this pitch becomes a little slower, because if it doesn't become slower, even even to fight back after conceding a lead of 100 runs is not going to be easy.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
many things.
uh,
Otherwise,
uh,
it's a 500
so
run lead.
yeah, so I mean, just a few pointers on the pitch itself. There'll be a lot of people who will come out defending that, how can you say this is a bad pitch? This is home advantage and whatnot. I mean, just think about it. A batter prepares all his life with a mindset that if a ball is at a good length or shorter, he has to go back. If the ball is full, they have to get on the front foot and play. This pitch was completely opposite. I mean, because of there being some dead grass in the middle of the wicket, balls at the good length were keeping low, while the balls that were fuller were bouncing at awkward heights at times. So, I mean, you can't just expect any international player to just train their brain on a morning of a test match. I mean, going away from what they've learned, spend their entire life doing, and that means it's a bad pitch. Second, I mean, I don't understand the need for Indian cricket to prepare rank turners whenever they are playing England, South Africa, or Australia. I mean, it just shows that even today, Indian cricket, or those running it do not feel confident enough to beat these sides on normal tracks. I mean, I'm sure the BCCI and the coaching staff is filled with players who have memories that still haunt them about the old Australian team or whatnot. But I mean, this Indian time side can easily beat Australia on a proper surface. I mean, why not prepare that? And how is it helping Indian batters? I mean, these are not the kind of pitches they're gonna get, they get in Ranji Trophy, so they are not prepared. These are not the kind of wickets that they are gonna get anywhere outside India, Bangladesh, or maybe Sri Lanka. So how is
Yeah.
it helping Indian batters? I mean, it's just it doesn't make for good viewing. Your games are getting over in 2 to 3 days. It's not commercially a good idea as well. I mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean,
There's nothing to gain from these tracks.
you've started a test match on Wednesday. You wanted to, the day you'd want day 4 and day 5 to be played in front of houseful crowds, but it doesn't look like this test match is going to go till day 5. And you mentioned Sri Lanka, but even in Sri Lanka, the ball turns. It's not inconsistent bounce. Playing with turn is still easy, but if there is inconsistent bounce, like I said, you need a lot of prayers to happen to survive. Like, maybe Labuschane's prayers from the previous 2 test matches got answered today, because he got a reprieve of a no ball, and then that review not taken and everything. But really, this and like I said, there is history and evidence to suggest that whenever you put on such pitches, you essentially neutralize your spinners. It's very similar to how when India used to travel abroad, or in these SINA countries from 2000s to 2010s, that opposition teams used to think that we'll prepare a green track and just roll over the Indian batting. But what it also used to do was, it used to give Indian bowling attack a lot more hell to play around with, and then Indian batting was good enough to compete. And you look at so many wins: Johannesburg 2006, Durban 2009, Jamaica 2006, Perth 2008. A lot of these wins came actually on tracks which everyone expected that India would fold up just like this. But the bowling became much more potent, and India were able to take 20 wickets on a normal Perth track, where there is just going to be enough bounce, and not a lot of seam movement, it would have been all very difficult for India to get those 20 wickets, or even in Johannesburg. So there needs to be some thought put on to, when before deciding to make a rank turner, because it could have backfired, like I said, in 2015 versus South Africa. It could have backfired in Ahmedabad as well. But I think, with that pink ball, or even against Sri Lanka last year in Bangalore. But
India
hopefully,
were a bad session away from actually going down in the 2017 BGT as well, just because of tracks like this.
No, but I'm just saying, okay, fine. Historically, we were speaking about certain videos to do as well. The fact that okay, show instances in the past where we've seen it in Mumbai. This has not been happening for the last 10, 20 years. Yeah? It's been happening way before that. So why does it suddenly surprise us as fans? I understand Som's points, I understand Gurpreet's points, but this will continue to happen in the next 5, 10 years, right? So, Nick's.
So the surprising part for me is that these are not the wickets that are dished out in Ranji Trophy. If you watch most of the domestic games, the wickets have that lush green surface to at least begin with. So you're not preparing your domestic cricketers to bat on tracks like this. We were talking about how the difference between how Ashwin and Aksar play versus the others. One point that I wanted to mention, what I forgot yesterday, was how late they play. But that's not how India's top order play. If you look at all the 5-6, you'll hardly find anyone who can play late. Everyone of them tries to reach the ball and just hit it because of the T20 era or whatnot. So that's a big difference. India's domestic cricketers, since they are not brought up on these dust balls anymore, don't really realize it. And in the interest of the sport, I'm not asking. I don't feel we should go back in time and start preparing such wickets for domestic cricket, because India has been successful outside India only because at the domestic level they are playing on true wickets. And let's just reflect that whenever there is an international cricket played on Indian grounds as well.
Or Nick, just want to ask you this: the fact that Som's mentioned, Gurpreet's mentioned, the fact that we kind of struggle against spin ourselves, which shouldn't be the case because we've been brought up on these surfaces. Just tell me about how the BCCI thinks about curating pitches, right? Do they think that because we have Akshar, Ashwin, Jadeja, pretty much the best arsenal in the world on spin pitches, that we can almost have a shootout with the opposition and invariably win? I know India's batters sometimes will be bowled up for cheap totals like this, but it'll be their bowlers who always pull them out of the fire. So is that the confidence more on the bowlers that, okay, fine, no matter what our batters do, our bowlers will bail us out, and that's the home advantage that we'd like?
I think to say a statement that may not always be true, but I think the people who run the game and the people who actually understand are a lot more different, and both are part of the system. So what they think and how they think about things, I don't think normal cricketing audience thinks that way. So because if you're thinking that our spinners will outbowl them, then you actually need a decent deck for that. The moment you prepare a rank turner, you are saying that your spinners need this assistance to take them out. So then you are effectively shooting yourself in the own foot here by saying that, okay, without this help, we can't win. But if you make surfaces like you have been in the 2016 series, maybe, again, somebody maybe realize that, okay, people are winning the toss, they're making 500, and then chasing is becoming tougher, like coming back in the game. So let's start turning from day one. But again, I don't think turning from day one is a problem. Consistent bounce, if you can do that, it will still give you a good contest. I think that obsession that, you have to stop the cycle that we get this, you will get that. We get this, you will get this. Stop. Ensure you are backing your country's best players to put out a good show on any kind of wicket. Now, the WTC final will be played in very different conditions to these. So, if you play them on 4 such pitches and then you take them to oval, you are expecting them to adapt just like that. So, they are not machines. You will need them to get acclimatized to those conditions as well. And as Som rightly said, it's about instincts. When you go in England and you're like at 10 o'clock in England, what you're thinking is not what you're thinking at 10 o'clock in Melbourne or at 10 o'clock in Kolkata.
Yeah.
It's the instinct, it's the pre-match routine that you have that, okay, this is Durban, I'm not going to play this. Okay, this is Jamaica, I'm not going to play that. These are small intricacies that maybe the people who run the game are not worried about because they just feel that machine, they should be able to adapt. Yeah, they get so much money. It doesn't work like that. There is a reason why people play warm-up games. It's not to smash hundreds of stat pad. It's to get used to the conditions that you are likely to face. And again, people do say, okay, well, you will get roads and then it will be turners, but at least you will get some feel of how the things are going to be. It may not be 100%, but even if it is 40-50%, it still helps.
No, it still
हाँ,
helps.
सब
You know
सबको
what's
पता है कि ब्रिस्बेन में क्या मिलेगा, लॉर्ड्स में क्या मिलेगा, बट इंडिया में आके सब ऐसे सुबह आके देखेंगे 10-20 बॉल खेल के पता चलेगा
And
हमको अगर
and
सरवाइव
that
कर
is
गए
not
तो कि क्या
good.
मिलने वाला
And that is not good, right? You're not building a
है.
test cricket culture in the nation. People should be worried that, okay, these are like something Kohli said in a press conference when he was the captain, that if I'm coming to play a match in Delhi, no, let's not take Delhi, Gurkira will get angry. If I'm playing a match in Wankhede, I should know what I'll get in Wankhede. It should not be that 2 days prior, 10 journalists were getting there, they'll click a photo, then they will be hurrah about it, then Fox Cricket will do something, then we'll get to know how the pitch is. It should not be like that. It has to be celebrated. It has to be made in a way that you take the game to the people. With these pitches, you're not taking it to the people. Here, nobody has a clue. There is no home advantage actually.
yeah, Gurkirat?
Yeah, this is what I wanted to add to. When on air today there was a discussion of pitch. Ravi Shastri said that this is our home advantage, and I'm like, India have played two test matches at this venue, literally two test matches, and the last one that they played here was 4 years ago, and before that it was 3 years ago when the pitch was entirely different. So when your own team doesn't know what kind of
But
pitch
that's
is
because,
going to
again,
come,
they're based in the opposition, the New Zealand, Bangladesh. Why would you prepare rank turners for them?
you don't need to prepare ranked runners for any opposition given the
No,
quality
you
that
do.
you have.
What do
I'm
you
just
mean?
saying.
That's not
I'm just saying.
right.
I'm
नहीं
just
so
saying
so
there is.
yeah, no,
I'm just
the,
saying that there is no home advantage for the Indian players as well, because like Nikhil said and like how Virat had mentioned a few years ago, you are not playing at this venue regularly, and this is not just with the case with Indore. The last test match that happened in Delhi was in 2017. Before this, there's been a gap of 6 years before India played a test match at Delhi. I think the last test match that happened in Nagpur was again in 2019. So if you're playing at a venue in 4 years, right, and you're not playing at all venues regularly, you don't know also what to expect each time. That's what. And
and
players, you can't even blame the players for expecting a good batting pitch, because when they played earlier this year, when they played an ODI at Indore this year, it was a very good batting pitch. So your instincts also will be okay. Yeah, would be that it was a very good batting pitch. It remains a good batting pitch even in the IPL as well. When we have played recently, because India also played a T20 at Indore against South Africa, and it was a good batting pitch. So if you've played three matches, maybe in a different format at this venue, and you've seen the ball flying and runs becoming easier, naturally you would expect that, okay, now I can look forward to scoring a few runs and probably look after, maybe that also goes in your mind, and then you see something which is completely drastic, and completely opposite to what you expect. It's difficult to adjust.
So,
so I just feel what has happened. It was Ravi Shastri himself who said when South Africa toured India in 2019 that let's take the pitch out of the equation. And against South Africa, all the pitches were very true wickets. India went on to win that series. Then came Bangladesh. Again, it was a spicy wicket in Kolkata, which was a day-night test. The same thing got repeated when England were here. But then India lost the first test because Root got that double. And India had to win the series because they had to qualify for the WTC final. And that's where you saw that the 3 tracks after that were like 2-day tests.
come on, you're saying during the series they've just lost that shit. They've lost the balls. They've lost
Of course. I mean, it's pretty obvious. India needed to win that series 3-1 to qualify for the WTC final, and they sort of, okay, bhai, abhi, this is not the moment to say कि भाड़ में जाए pitch. This is the moment to भाई pitch अपने हिसाब से बनाओ. Let's they just have Jack Leach and another spinner who would be forgotten after the series, and we have these three. I mean, Jadeja
I
was not
do
around.
think I do think though that the test match in the fourth test, that the pitch in the fourth test where Pant had gotten 100 and played that reverse lap, I do think it was a good wicket. But by that time England had already given up. They wanted to go home, and it was evident the way they had played the third test, and how Akshar Patel had gotten into their minds. But overall, you I also don't entirely agree with that comment. I know the context is different. That the context is that you've got to compete regardless of the pitch. But cricket is perhaps the most conditions oriented sport that I've ever come across. So you can't really take equations such as you can't really say that you take the pitch out of the equation, or you take out the atmosphere or the weather conditions, because it's such a game that relies so heavily on conditions around you. uh, but yeah, I mean, quite a disappointing day and a frustrating day, because uh, literally nothing to gain, and you could be assured that the next time India are in the same situation, say 2 years from now, you probably end up having a similar kind of pitch.
But I'm
Guys,
pretty
there's a
sure
lot
if
of things.
whenever
Sorry.
West Indies is in India next, you'll see wickets where India end up scoring 500, 600. I can I
Yeah,
can I
that's
can
what I'm saying.
ascertain you that.
So that's what I'm saying, right? Last time we played, like Gurkira just spoke about the last two tests in Indore, New Zealand and Bangladesh, and no wonder we scored 500 odd and 400 odd, because they're completely different pitches. We've spoken about pitches for 18 and a half minutes, which is ridiculous on a day's one play review. I mean, and in fact, all the comments as well has just been about pitches, which is quite ridiculous. I'll just take a few to make them feel special. Archit Aryaman saying it does not sit well for me because today's Irani Trophy pitch at green top and international matches in India have ranked turners off tick with Jaiswal. Seems a great batter. He scored a 200, by the way. Vikram Monti agrees with Nick, saying basically Nick is right. We should have prepared green pitches for WTC preparation. Even if we lost in those, it would have been awesome to watch. And if we won those, then we would have had the confidence. There was another one about the pitch. Vikramanti saying, honestly, having a flat pitch wouldn't mean much to be prepared in this kind of spin pitches. Look, you can make whatever you want of what you saw today, because look, 13 out of the 14 wickets fell to spin. The only one which didn't fall to spin was that shenanigans from Mohammad Siraj running his partner out, or running himself out rather. But India, lots to, of course, look forward to day two, which I'll take Nitin's comment and end the show, guys, because he goes on to ask a simple one. Predictions for day two. Just यही बोल दो और show खत्म करो और घर जाओ. So Som, will start with you, and then Nix and Gurkirat. 47 runs lead. How much do you think Australia will be happy with?
100 run more, I guess. They would want to lead about 150. India would be happy if they can curtail them to under a 100 lead, and
So
then go on to
150
score
is India
250
up.
themselves. Yes.
Okay, interesting. Nix.
They're pretty much same ideal. Keep them below 100 run lead, then try and bat out to a day and a half if you can, and then see where you are.
Okay, Gurkirat, what would you be happy with? Because I know you said 100 is a little too tough far for the Indian batsmen to also come back. Will that be batting them out of the game completely?
See, in India would have to ensure that by lunch they've dismissed Australia, and then they're not more than five down by end of day's play. And I think what is really going to be very very important tomorrow is what kind of roller do Australia opt for in the morning, and for how long does the effect of that roller stay. If it's a heavy roller and initially if the ball's not doing much, then Rohit will have to be very very proactive with the kind of fields he's setting, because India really can't afford to give a lot of runs out there. And I also feel somewhere Australia's tail is not as long this time, because Stark is very capable of hitting two three big ones to spinners, especially on a ground like this with short boundaries. He's very capable of playing a cameo like Umesh did earlier today. And what happens is that when you're already ahead in the game, the chances of these cameos and these hits coming off are far more than when you're behind. So the one player that I'm worried about, even if India are able to make uh, breakthroughs initially earlier in the day, especially getting Handscomb out, is that Stark doing some damage with the bat, with 20-30 runs. And from there on, again, the kind of roller that India opt for. And I do think uh, whenever India come out to bat, there's a definite case for a promotion of Akshar Patel, even if if I don't know if it has to be at number 4 or if it has to be at number 5. But at this point of time, Somesh is saying 3, but at this point of time, I think having 4 right-handers straight away uh, facing Kuhneman is not ideal, especially with the rough being ideally created. There has to be India have to try and maintain a left hand right hand combination as long as they can. If maybe they can give Shubman Gill the license to go after the bowling when they come out. But if India are two down early, I really don't want Virat Kohli coming out to bat at number 4, because again, left arm spin with the ball doing a lot, you really need someone who can try and disturb the lengths of the batters. I don't want to use the term, but if India are in trouble, I think they might have to baseball their way out of out of the situation, because at this point of time, I don't think the conventional method is going to work out. And if India have to win, they need someone to create the kind of partnership that Sachin and Lakshman had in Mumbai 2004. And at that point of time, Australia only had Nathan Horwitz with Michael Clark for company. This time there is Kuhneman, there's Todd Murphy, there's Nathan Lyon, and Travis Head can also bowl. So yeah, India need to promote Akshar Patel tomorrow anyway.
Gurkirat, before I let you go, you said you promised something good for me in the show. What was it?
I said it in my initial comment that Virat Kohli was the best batter today, and he actually played.
I just wanted to share that again. I just wanted to share that again. But
And he
look,
actually played spin much better than what I had expected.
But
did,
I
he
mean, yeah,
did.
before we go and be all praise for Virat Kohli, I must add that if India would have played the same batting lineup, and if someone else would have played those 18 balls, India would have been 21 runs shorter.
Wow. Look, on that note, on that salty note, we'll just end proceedings. We really appreciate all you guys joining us right now in terms of what's been talking about pitches. I say pitches with a P and nothing else, because pitches will be pitches, and we'll leave it there. Day one, done and dusted. Day two, join us, and of course, catch all the coverage on cricket.com and subscribe if you guys are watching this for the first time. I'm Avnish Hegde, who's red-faced after that particular sour comment from Somesh, and of course a little chuckle from Gurkirat. Nick, appreciate your time as well. And like I said, Gurkirat and Som, always wonderful to get your insights. And that's all we have in this review. Thanks for watching. It's a goodbye from me. Download the cricket.com app. It's absolutely brand new and fantastic. I'm using it as we speak.